Artificial intelligence is often portrayed as a solution to many of our most pressing problems. From streamlining healthcare systems to solving complex logistics in global supply chains, from predicting natural disasters to helping diagnose rare diseases, the reach of AI seems limitless. In a world increasingly driven by data, automation, and algorithmic precision, AI is the new electricity, but with great power comes hidden costs. While we admire the speed, accuracy, and creativity of large language models and AI-generated content, there's an inconvenient truth simmering below the surface, one that most discussions leave out: water. Yes, water. The same life-giving substance that sustains human life, nurtures ecosystems, and irrigates our crops is being quietly consumed in massive amounts to keep AI systems running. Today, we peel back the curtain on a mostly overlooked issue: how the rise of AI, particularly the energy-intensive training and operation of large-scale models, is exacerbating the global water crisis. In this video, you'll discover how exactly AI consumes water, why this problem is bigger than you think, which companies are driving the trend, and what we can do to mitigate the damage. It's time to talk about the water footprint of artificial intelligence, because while AI is changing the world, it may also be drying it out. When people hear the term AI, they often think of digital brains doing mental gymnastics in the cloud, crunching data with no tangible effect on the environment. But the truth is far more grounded. AI lives in massive data centers, housed in sprawling buildings filled with rows upon rows of graphics processing units, GPUs, central processing units, CPUs, and specialized AI accelerators like tensor processing units, TPUs. These machines are powerful, but they are also extremely hot. Every time an AI model processes a prompt, generates an image, or answers a question, energy is consumed. When that energy converts to heat, it must be dissipated to prevent system failure. That's where cooling systems come in. And the most efficient large-scale cooling method? Water. Water-based cooling is used because it offers a high heat capacity, making it ideal for drawing heat away from servers. This can be implemented in several forms. Evaporative cooling, where warm air is passed over water to cool it through evaporation. Liquid immersion, where components are submerged in a special non-conductive liquid. Chilled water systems, where water is chilled centrally and circulated through pipes to absorb heat. This isn't just a few gallons trickling through pipes. We're talking hundreds of thousands to millions of gallons daily at scale. In fact, data centers are now recognized as industrial water users, comparable to paper mills or beverage factories. To put this into perspective, training GPT-3 required approximately 700,000 liters of water. That's just for training one model. And now that these models are being updated more frequently and integrated into everyday applications, water usage becomes constant, not occasional. Even inference, the process of running a model to produce outputs after it's trained, requires active computation. That means more heat and more cooling. If 1 million people ask a chatbot like ChatGPT a question in a single hour, that translates into massive back-end processing and significant water demand to keep the infrastructure cool. Add to this the fact that companies are now offering AI as a service, meaning multiple clients are running models simultaneously, often for trivial use cases like writing social media captions or generating memes. The environmental cost for seemingly harmless conveniences starts to add up quickly. Let's consider a typical AI data center. It may consume between 3 to 5 million gallons of water per day. That's equivalent to the daily water use of 30,000 to 50,000 people. Multiply this by thousands of data centers worldwide, and you begin to see the scale of the issue. Companies sometimes use alternative cooling methods like air cooling or direct-to-chip systems, but these are not always sufficient for high-density AI workloads. As models grow in complexity, so too does their environmental demand. All of this water use often happens out of sight, with little transparency. The public rarely knows how much water their favorite apps or services are consuming in the background. This isn't just an engineering problem, it's an ethical one, and it becomes even more critical in regions where water is scarce. Water scarcity is not a distant threat. According to the United Nations, by 2025, 2/3 of the world's population could face water shortages. And we're not just talking about faraway places. Even developed nations are grappling with diminishing freshwater reserves. Enter artificial intelligence. The global race to develop smarter, faster, more powerful AI has led to an explosion of data center construction. These centers are often located in regions with affordable land, low taxes, and access to existing power grids. But water availability is rarely a top concern during planning. Take Google, for example. In 2022, it reported consuming more than 5 billion gallons of water for cooling purposes. Microsoft, that same year, reported a nearly 34% increase in water consumption, largely due to AI demands. And these figures are not anomalies. They represent a rising trend. As more companies train larger models and increase AI deployment across industries, the strain on freshwater resources intensifies. There's also a geographic component to this crisis. Arizona is home to several large data centers despite experiencing ongoing droughts. Chile houses cloud infrastructure in areas already suffering from desertification. India, where nearly 600 million people face high to extreme water stress, is seeing data center investments surge to meet AI and cloud demand. The problem? These centers often draw from the same water sources used by local farmers, communities, and ecosystems. In some cases, municipal governments have had to negotiate with tech giants over water rights, creating tensions between public needs and private interests. Add climate change to the equation. With rising global temperatures, cooling demands go up. That means even more water is needed to maintain AI system reliability. Some researchers have modeled the trajectory of water use under different AI growth scenarios. The worst-case outcomes are chilling. If current growth trends continue unchecked, data centers could account for 10% of global freshwater use by 2030. Some urban areas may face trade-offs between supplying water for human consumption or digital infrastructure. And this isn't just about direct water use. Data centers also affect water temperature and quality. When water is discharged after use, it often re-enters natural systems at elevated temperatures, disrupting aquatic life. Chemicals used in cooling processes can also seep into water tables. So what starts as a server overheating problem quickly becomes a public health and environmental justice issue. The scale of the problem is vast, and the urgency to act, greater than ever. The AI water crisis doesn't have a single villain, but it does have a few key players. Tech giants like Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, OpenAI are racing to build and deploy larger AI models faster than ever. These companies often frame AI as a universal good, capable of solving climate change, managing water resources, and enhancing sustainability. Yet, paradoxically, the infrastructure required to support their AI ambitions is contributing to the very problems they claim to solve. These companies are aware of the issue. Many have released glossy sustainability reports promising to go water positive by 2030, meaning they will replenish more water than they consume. But what does that actually mean? Often, replenishment comes in the form of funding for wetland restoration or community water systems in entirely different regions. Google may consume billions of gallons in Oregon, but offset it by investing in projects in India or Kenya. While helpful in theory, this kind of geographic offsetting does little to address local impacts. Transparency is another concern. Most data center water usage statistics are aggregated and averaged over long periods. Few companies offer real-time or region-specific reporting. Without standard benchmarks or third-party audits, there's no easy way for regulators or the public to track compliance or progress. Some companies even resist public disclosure. In certain cases, they argue that detailing water use would compromise trade secrets. Others release incomplete data, omitting seasonal spikes or use during peak AI training periods. Meanwhile, governments often fail to regulate aggressively. Many regions lack robust legal frameworks that classify data centers as industrial water users. This means tech companies can consume vast amounts of public water resources with minimal oversight. The lack of coordinated international regulation is a huge gap. While the EU has begun exploring environmental requirements for digital infrastructure, countries like the US, India, and Brazil lag behind. So who is responsible? Tech companies, for pursuing growth without considering local sustainability. Governments, for failing to legislate and enforce water protections. Investors who chase AI returns without questioning the resource costs. Developers and users who treat AI as limitless and free. Responsibility must be shared, but accountability must be demanded. Despite the scale of the problem, there are promising solutions, and they start with awareness. First, data centers can adopt more sustainable cooling technologies. Innovations like liquid immersion cooling that uses far less water than traditional methods. Closed-loop systems that recycle cooling water rather than discharging it. Dry cooling and air-cooled chips that eliminate water use altogether. Second, infrastructure placement matters. Companies should avoid building data centers in drought-prone or high-stress water regions. Instead, they should prioritize areas with sustainable water access or invest in desalination systems near coastal regions. Third, governments need to step in with policy. Mandate real-time water use reporting. Require environmental impact assessments for new data centers. Establish water usage caps for high-intensity infrastructure. Incentivize companies that implement green tech and penalize those that don't. Fourth, the AI research community must incorporate sustainability into model design. Researchers should focus on model efficiency, creating AI that achieves more with fewer parameters, algorithmic energy optimization, to reduce power and cooling needs, task-based resource allocation, to prevent overuse for low-impact tasks, and finally, education. That means sharing content like this, talking about it, asking your favorite platforms and services where their data centers are and how they're cooled, voting with your attention, your voice, and your support for responsible tech. AI doesn't have to be a drain on the planet, but we have to act now to ensure that it becomes part of the solution, not a hidden contributor to one of the world's most urgent crises. Artificial intelligence holds immense promise, but we must count all its costs, not just in processing power and profits, but in resources, ecosystems, and human well-being. The AI water crisis is real, it's growing, and it demands our attention. If you found this video eye-opening, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Let's make environmental sustainability part of every AI conversation, because the future of intelligence should be smart and sustainable.